The Curse of Fenric, the third serial of Doctor Who's 26th season, first broadcast in 4 parts from the 25th of October to the 15th of November 1989. It starred the 7th Doctor, played by Sylvester McCoy, and his companion Ace, played by Sophie Aldred, as they land at a naval base in 1943. While there, they meet a load of colourful characters, including Dr. Judson, played by Dinsdale Landon, a doctor who's seemingly trying to break kind of wartime codes, including Old Norse ones, Old Norse ruins, a commander named Commander Millington, played by Alfred Lynch, who's kind of anxious to get things done, a reverend named Wainwright, played by Nicholas Parsons, two teenage girls who have been evacuated to the countryside due to the war, played by Joanne Kenny and Joanne Bell, a young woman with a baby named Kathleen Dudman, played by Corey Pullman, and a nurse played by Anne Reid. However, what they ultimately discover is there's an evil that has been reawoken named Fenric, who the Doctor is all too familiar with, and he has raised an army of hemivores, kind of monstrous zombie-like creatures, and is slowly turning various members of the town into them in order to ultimately take over. And it's up to the Doctor to try and find a way to stop him. Now, whenever I asked which classic stories I should try and take a look at on social media, The Curse of Fenric was always up there. Like 9 times out of 10 people would say, you got to watch The Curse of Fenric. And watching it through, I get why so many people wanted me to review it. It is a really good story. And I do kind of see why people wanted it so bad. I mean, I will admit, I did see one of the twists coming fairly evidently. Like, there's a twist partway through where they meet Kathleen Dudman and she's got a baby with her in the war rooms. And they're dealing with it, and Ace is like, oh, cute baby. It's like, and she handles the baby, and it's like, oh, she's really cute. What's her name? It's like, Audrey. It's like, I hate the name Audrey. It's like, why do you hate the name Audrey? It was my mother's name. To which you can evidently see in the story that she hasn't had a good relationship with her mother. But then, kind of towards the end of the story, I was like, I bet I know what the twist is. Like, what? Like, well, she says she hates the name Audrey, and the baby is named Audrey, and she said it was her mother's name, and this is 1943, and Ace is a teenager in the 1980s, so, like, yeah, you could pretty much see the twist coming, with it eventually being revealed that the baby is actually her mother. And she eventually sends the mother and the baby off and says, you can go and stay with my nan, she lives at this particular address, without seemingly realising that the woman is actually her nan. And she just sent her to the address that she ultimately lives in when she knew her, which I could see that coming. But the main reason that people remember this particular story so heavily is because of the ending. Like, when Fenric, the evil, has arisen and taken over the new sets of bodies, he has got the Doctor kind of trapped in a kind of mental chess game. And he says that he will kill the Doctor, but if he wants to spare Ace, he'll spare Ace until the Doctor is killed, or Fenric could kill her now. And the Doctor ultimately says, kill her. To which it's then a bit of a shock, as he said to her, well, I always sense the kind of evil in her. I mean, do you think I'd take on a troubled delinquent if I didn't see the evil in her? It's just like, to which it's eventually revealed that the reason why the Doctor was saying all these things was to essentially break Ace's trust in him. Because ultimately Fenric has got them cornered, and he's got a hemivore beside him, and it's Ace's faith in the Doctor that is ultimately keeping the hemivore from attacking. Like, it's shown throughout the story that the hemivores can't attack people with strong faiths. For example, the Reverend, played by Nicholas Parsons, he has faith in his Bible, he has faith in the Lord. But then, as the two girls who have been taken over by Fenric point out, his faith is shaking. and then when he ultimately loses faith, they're able to attack him. To which the Doctor has already kind of made the Hemovore kind of question Fenric already, but then once Ace's faith in him is damaged, that finally gives the Hemovore a chance to attack, but it chooses not to attack Ace or the Doctor, but to attack Fenric himself. To which Fenric's plan was essentially to poison the Earth with a chemical that Commander Millington had been holding back. He had said to the Doctor earlier, well, when the war is over, we're going to allow the Russians to capture this bit of tech, and it's been laced with a chemical that will be activated by a specific word. And then once the war is over, we'll incorporate as many times this word possible into our communications so that it will set off the device and kill the Russians. Like, what's the word? Like, love. To which, considering this was the late 1980s and we'd just come off the Cold War, I can kind of understand why they go for this, even though this story is supposed to be set in kind of late World War II. But yeah, I can understand why they do this. And the other one that I quickly want to talk about is Nurse Crane, who was played by actress Anne Reid. Now, she doesn't appear in the story very much, but I wanted to talk about her because not only does she appear in two things that I am a little familiar with, one being a 1990s sitcom titled Dinner Ladies, where she played Jean, and the other being Hot Fuzz, where she, of course, played the florist who gets murdered. But Anne Reid is also another actress who manages to appear twice in Doctor Who, once in the classic era, once in the new era. Here she plays Nurse Crane, again nurse to the wheelchair-bound Dr. Judson, yet when he gets taken over by Fenric, she ultimately gets killed and turned into a Hemovore with everybody else. But also she appeared in New Who in the first episode of Series 3, Smith and Jones, where she played Florence Finnegan, the Plasmavore who's ultimately kind of sucking out people's blood in the hospital. So I just wanted to mention her here because she is an actress who's appeared in both Classic Who and New Who, and I felt it was worth mentioning. So what do I think of the Curse of Fenric overall? Well, I like it. I can see why so many people do like it. I don't know if it's quite up there among the greats for me. I mean, I don't necessarily know if it's Genesis of the Daleks, but I can see why people like it. I mean, maybe it's just another one that it'll take me a few times watching it through before I truly understand the greatness of it. Like, when I watched through The Robots of Death, I didn't entirely get why people thought that one was so good, but then when I watched it a second time, I was like, okay, I can start to see it. This time, yeah, I think The Curse of Fenric may require a few more rewatches, but I do understand why people like it. So, that's my quick thoughts on The Curse of Fenric. Now, next up, I'll be trying, well, I'm not trying, I actually will be doing a review of the first Doctor story, Galaxy 4, or rather, the animated recreation of it. What do I think of that? Well, we'll have to wait and see. Until next time, see ya.